Hey guys, I've been thinking lately. I ran across something a few days ago. It's been on my mind for a couple days now, and it really got me thinking about what exactly it is when you fall like madly head over heels in love with somebody. I have had this experience like 20 times in my life, where you just like go absolutely, you just like lose yourself, you know. You go to bed thinking about this person, you wake up thinking about this person, just like in this sort of intoxicated way. And then, you know, when inevitably it doesn't work, when inevitably it ends as you suspect it will from the beginning, it just is like this bottoming out, you know, rock bottom, worst feeling in the world, you know, just the worst heartbreak and heartache. It's just the worst. It's just the worst. This is basically my 20s and mid 30s to mid 30s. Like, this was just, other than I had like a long relationship in there, that never had that element to it. And I've been trying to think about what this is, because I see somebody I know going through just repeating a pattern over and over and over again. And I can see it's about to repeat again for this person. And so this is what's been on my mind. And I haven't had that feeling. I haven't had that thing happen since before I did all of this changing. I've made videos about that on this channel. In 2019, I had some experiences, some intentions that led me to basically a set of realizations, a series of realizations that completely flipped how I saw my own value and myself, and basically this entire experience. I haven't had this experience I'm talking about, this like, I'm sick in love with somebody and I know this can't last because it feels like I'm on drugs. You know, you always hope it'll last because it's just this like high beyond highs. And you kind of know in the back of your mind it's not going to, because things like that just don't last. And there's a good reason for that. It's because it's just a fantasy. It's just an illusion that you're in. It's not real. And so I've been trying to define this a little bit, because knowing what I know about how your self-concept creates your world, your beliefs and everything create your world, you know, how do these things come about and what do they mean? These experiences where you're like madly in love and you just kind of like know it's gonna, you know, it doesn't last. And I think I've defined it. I think I've boiled it down to basically one idea. And the idea is, this person is going to give me everything. That's what that feeling comes down to. This person is going to right all wrongs, fulfill every aspect of my life that is not currently fulfilled. You know, it's just, I'm gonna, you know, this person, it's like using a person as a drug. Maybe this isn't a very profound statement. But, you know, I've been thinking about this a lot, because I've been watching this closely for about 10 years, just myself in relation to this stuff. And a lot of changing has happened in that 10 years between 32 and 42. And a lot of things have been made clear. But so I find that I really illustrate stuff best by just relating it to whatever about my life that I was, you know, caused me to think about this. So, my ex and I, that I had a long-term relationship with from 28 to 35, we have a great friendship to this day. I talked about him. He's one of the non-specific people that I manifested out of thin air. He's the one I manifested in 3 days. We always had more of a friend relationship. And just before I met him, I had gained a whole bunch of weight. So I was feeling really bad about myself. I'd gained like 40 pounds, 30 pounds, somewhere in that. And I already wasn't very happy where I started before that. So I was like 190, and I was very, due to like weight kind of being my central theme anyway, I was in a really low place about myself. I just felt like, you know, at the time I was like, this is just not acceptable. I'm not acceptable. nobody could ever be expected to be attracted to me like this, just sort of like, that was where I was at about myself. And that played out in the choice of getting into that relationship, because from early on, it was pretty apparent to me that this long-term relationship ex that I manifested in 3 days, he was not going to be the person that was going to like fawn all over me physically. He was not, his wiring is completely different towards life. He's like very focused on money and success and spiritual stuff. He kind of has like shunned the physical world in a way. This is causing problems, and obviously like that's his choice. It caused issues between us because I was looking for more of for like what's ideal. I was looking for more of like a normal relationship where like you have a normal physical relationship and enjoy things in the world, and it's not so tunnel vision towards certain things. That was the right relationship for me though, because at that time I really needed a friend and I was trying to become really successful. So that was, that was more of a priority for me at that point. I was 28 and I was broke and I was just like, this has to stop. Like this, my basic survival and everything that's my number one right now. So it was a perfect match for that. But while this perfect match was creating this great wealth and all this other stuff, success, I was kind of just like languishing in the area of how I felt about myself physically and my worthiness as like a partner. Our relationship was really good in a lot of ways. And so, being in my like early 30s at one point, I was just like, well, I guess we're going to get married, and he wanted to get married. And so I was just kind of like facing this fork in the road of, do I stay in this relationship that's going this one way, or do I go down, do I try to like now attack all the things that are preventing me from having this other aspect of my life that I want, these aspects of a relationship that I want, and which will mean ending this relationship probably, and having to deal with all this other stuff? Or do I want to like go down the path that's already set in front of me with this person that I know I can trust, blah blah blah, but I know this whole aspect of my life is just going to be dead basically. So in my mid-30s, we ended up breaking up, and by that time I had been so like physically neglected, and just that whole area of my life had been so neglected that it'd been like 7 years since I had felt like a guy was like interested in me at all, like romantically or physically or any of that stuff, that there was this big gaping hole. And I was still overweight. I still had all the problems mentally with that. Like I hadn't done anything about that. And immediately I met a guy and just fell absolutely head over heels in love with this guy. I don't think anything else has ever come close to. I've had a few experiences like this. Who are we shitting here? There have been a couple experiences like this, but this was one of the big ones in terms of this drug high thing that happened in the beginning. He basically came in and just fulfilled this whole thing that had been missing. Just over the top romantic, talking and writing me, these crazy long romantic emails, and just forever romance fairy tale. Like it was just crazy, and I was drunk on this. And and so this progressed, and it just became like it kind of like devolved into this bad thing. Like he was extremely jealous, extremely possessive. And after a while I was just like, you know what? I'm not even like a person to this guy. I realized he was doing the exact same thing to me. With his own bag of personality issues and everything else that comes along with a person that you had nothing to do with, that your behavior or whatever did not create. Like there was a person that was there with a history before you met. So he basically turned out to be looking to me to fulfill everything in his life that was missing. He had insecurities about like I'm not sure exactly how to put, like he needed to have a person, you know, he needed a partner in order to feel like a valid human being. Like, he was tired of going to family events by himself. He was, you know, like, I was going to be the solution to all of this. He was also kind of not well off financially. So I think I was going to come in and help fix that in his mind. It was the same thing you know, we were giving each other, we were supporting each other in a way that we needed to be doing individually for each other. And it was a fantasy to begin with, because neither of us was ever going to be able to do that for the other person. It was just an illusion that this person is going to fix this. People never fix your life. They never fix you. I mean, true friends and true connections, I think, can come in and help you help yourself. But, you know, if you're looking to somebody else to basically be a crutch, then I think that's where this just insane in love thing comes into play. It's like, this person is going to fulfill everything for me. Like, this idea that I had that life had ups and downs and problems, like, that's gone now, because this person is here and this person is going to take me out of this world, you know. That's, I think, what that is. And so I'm bringing this up because occasionally, I really hope he doesn't watch this channel. He might, but occasionally I am shown this person's social media because of, like, he's in my email and stuff. Oh, I mean, by the way, the relationship, I ended up having to, you know, I ended up leaving that, like, pretty fast, because just the level of expectation of what I was going to provide, and that, you know, there were all these built-in expectations I didn't know about, like, that I was going to have to, I don't know. This guy had a lot of ideas about what I was just going to do the second we were, like, officially in a relationship. And when I realized that, I was just like, I'm out of here, basically. I mean, it took like 2 years for the whole thing to completely peter out and be over. But the whole relationship, like, that actually happened between us physically in person was only like a few months long before I started getting totally repulsed by the expectations put on me. And, you know, I was already kind of in the frame of mind where I'm like, I really have to do this work on myself. You know, I didn't want somebody to make me feel beautiful and worthy and all that stuff. I wanted to feel that way independently. So it wasn't a match, obviously. But so that was a while ago. I was 35 then, and I'm 40, almost 42 and a half now. So that was 7 years ago. And the whole thing completely ended. I don't think I've spoken to him in at least 5 years. And so social media, like, sometimes I see his social media. And, you know, this is the beauty of social media. Like, people's stuff is so public now. You can test these theories. I'm able to actually, like, look at people that I'm like, wait, you know, there's an example. Let me go see if I can, like, see if I'm proving myself wrong or right here. I happened to, for some reason, look at his social media yesterday, I think it was. And it just happened to be, like, the timing was, like, perfect. Because I would say I look at his social media, like, maybe once a year. He just started doing this with another person now. Literally. The same thing that he did with me. He met somebody. She's his whole world after, like, a month. And so I'm not surprised to see that, because, you know, my whole, like, stance on all this stuff, as I've talked about on this channel, is that if you don't change, you will just keep doing the same thing. You will keep creating the outer reality that you've always created. The only thing that changes anything, it's never another person. It's always you. It's the stuff that changes is always coming from you. And so what I knew of this person was that he did not believe in any of that shit. He didn't, you know, he couldn't be more on the other side of all this stuff. He was basically, fix me, not I'm going to fix myself. I never heard a word of, like, any kind of personal accountability about anything. You know, it was always somebody else's fault. And so knowing that, how strong that was for this person 7 years ago, I'm not at all surprised to see that he's doing the exact same thing. He's still thinking that somebody is going to come in and fix everything. It's, you know, it's, so the interesting part about this is that his girlfriend is also tagged in social media, and her social media is also wide open. So yesterday morning, I woke up at like 7. Matt was still sleeping. I didn't want to wake him up. So I'm on my phone and I go down this rabbit hole. That's the only reason I even would have looked at his shit anyway, because I had nothing better to do at 7 in the morning on my phone. And I went down this rabbit hole and looked at a bunch of stuff that she wrote on her social media over the last like 4 months. And it's the exact same shit. It's the exact same shit. She was like fresh out of a relationship that made her feel like nothing, you know, she's constantly saying, I feel like nothing, you know, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough. It's amazing that people just post this stuff and then I can see it. And like, it's not even people I know. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Then she meets this guy, that guy, and boom, same thing. I know exactly what he's doing with her and how it's making her feel. And she's on top of the world and she, you know, and then as it progresses, there starts being hints of he's very jealous and possessive. And it was funny. She even said something in one of her posts like, I'm never going to speak words in my mind again first to make sure they're not going to be something that are going to upset you. And I was just like, holy shit, like down to the detail, like this is the same. Nothing has changed. I would always be rehearsing what I was about to say before saying it to that guy, because he was so sensitive and so insecure that if you said the wrong thing, like, and half the time you couldn't even figure out that it was going to be wrong. Like it was so out there. You're just like, what? You have a problem with that? Like I remember getting to that point, just like to deal with him, you had to, if you didn't want to be fighting all the time, you had to be super careful what you would say so as not to ignite some like insecurity. It was crazy. So that's still going on. And so this relationship is being created and it's like, anyway, whatever, you know, if you don't change, your patterns continue to repeat. There's no such thing as a person that comes along and is just right for you, and then all the same bullshit that you've created the exact same way suddenly is created differently. It doesn't work like that, dude. I hope you can hear this. You could save yourself a lot of time if you just fully get this. And you know, you sometimes I think get sucked in anyway. You know, it's just too enticing. The possibility that maybe that's not, maybe there is just a perfect person that's going to fix all this stuff, that's going to, you know, make this all better, make it all right for the rest of my life. I've never seen that happen. The best I've seen is two people coming together and they're not necessarily in a great place individually, or one of them isn't. And that person is at a point where they are ready to leap forward. They're ready, you know, and then that other person shows up and unlocks that stuff for them or supports them while they do it. Nobody else is ever going to fix it for you. And so I'm sure I'll make an update video on this at some point. I spent way more time than I wanted to traveling down a rabbit hole in somebody else's life yesterday. And I don't really want to look at that again. But I bet you anything, I will again be shuffled onto that person. You might know this person, and look, and it will be more heartbreak and destruction, and sadly, you know, the same pattern repeating. And these are people that are pretty old, so it's, you know, the demographic that watches this channel mostly is 25-34. You're still in a really good place where you can understand this stuff, and I think you can avoid a lot of stuff. Lately I've been waffling, saying, you know, I don't really think anything anybody would have said would have made me, you know, be able to just learn things that I learned through experience, but that's not true. You know, I've learned a lot from other people telling me, you know, I've learned to avoid a lot of mistakes in my life. In this particular area, I'm talking about it because these are the areas where I wasn't able to avoid it. But, you know, I've realized, like, there's a purpose in talking about this stuff for people, because some people can, I think, just hear this and avoid making some big mistakes in their lives. You know, if you really accept that nobody else is going to come in and make it okay, but that you can do that for yourself, You know, I think a lot of people hear that and they're just like dejected. They're like, well, man, I can't do it for myself either. So life just sucks. You can do it for yourself. It's preferable. It just sounds bad. It just sounds like the worst option. It's actually a way, 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 way better option. It gives you all the power, and it just changes everything when you're not looking to outside things to fix your mental state. All you have to do is set an intention right now for that. Just intend that that's where you want your life to go. I want my life to end up where I am self-sufficient and whole. I want every experience between now and then to be used towards that end. You will get there, I promise. And it's worth it. Even if it takes you till 40 or 50 or 60 or whatever. It's worth it, dude. It's worth it. It's not optional, really, I don't think, at the end of the day. You know, I think that in the trajectory of your soul development, or whatever you want to call it, whatever woo-woo you want to talk about it, say about it, call it, that eventually you have to do this. I think it's just part of this whole thing. So, yeah, I was pretty sad to see that guy is still doing the same thing. You know, he was once somebody that I really cared about. His behavior and the way he was eventually offended me enough that I was just disgusted by the whole thing, and I just walked away. Like, I was like, I don't ever want to talk to him again. That's how over the top, needy, and just completely disregarding me as a person with their own life and needs. That's how bad it was. And I don't think anything has changed. That's depressing. And you watching this don't have to go down that same kind of route. You can do all kinds of shit. You know, starting with taking accountability for everything, and, you know, letting go of the idea that the 3D is what's going to change everything. When you change everything that's in your head, everything outside will change. Some things won't change, and you'll just see them differently. It's the cure, not the Band-Aid.